On March 2nd, 2018, at about 4:45 a.m., the Travis County Sheriff's Office, located in Texas, received a 911 call.
Travis County 911.
There's a shooting. My husband got out of bed. My dogs were barking. There were shots fired.
Shots were fired for him?
No, I don't know. Help me.
The voice you are listening to is that of 52-year-old Ted Shaughnessy. Moments earlier, she and her husband, 55-year-old Ted Shaughnessy, were awoken by their dog Bart barking. Ted got up to see what the commotion was, and as Corey laid her head back down to sleep, multiple gunshots went off inside the house. Bart came running to the bedroom. Corey immediately grabbed her .357 revolver from the wall mount above her bed, and as she went to exit the room, a bright white light shined through the Japanese curtains in the doorway. A shot was then fired through the curtains, instantly killing Bart at the foot of the bed. Corey and the intruder then exchanged a barrage of bullets until Corey's gun ran out of ammo. She quickly grabbed her cell phone, ran into the closet, and dialed 911. As she explained what had just taken place, she heard moaning coming from outside the room.
I don't know where that's supposed to be.
You hear somebody moaning?
Yes.
Okay. Does it sound like your husband?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you think you possibly shot your husband?
I don't know.
Corey, take a deep breath. You're doing a great job, okay? The police are on their way.
I think it might be my husband. Oh my God.
Is it just you and your husband in the house?
I don't know. I gotta go out there.
No. Stay where you are, Corey. I want you to stay where you are.
Police were dispatched to the couple's residence on Oliver Drive, and 15 minutes later, they arrived.
All right, ma'am, I do have units on scene, and they are going to be approaching your house, okay?
At this point, it was safe to say that the intruders had fled the scene, so dispatch instructed Corey to cautiously exit the house.
Let me know when you're opening the door. Let me know everything that you're doing, okay?
I'm looking out of my closet.
As Corey headed toward the front door, she passed by the kitchen where Ted was on the floor, brutally gunned down.
Oh, God.
Go to the door, ma'am. Go to the door, Corey. Go to the door, Corey. What do you see? Corey, what do you see?
There's nobody else.
Corey opened the door and discovered that no police had arrived at the scene. It turned out that the police had accidentally gone to the house next door.
I did. There's nobody near my husband.
The police quickly corrected this mistake and met Corey at her front door. She was visibly shaken, so one of the officers escorted her to a squad car, away from the crime scene. Now safe and with someone to talk to, she grieved the loss of her husband of 30 years.
He's fine. It's my entire life. No.
Corey then asked if she could call her best friend Karen.
Hello? You're Karen?
Yeah.
You're Corey?
What's the matter?
Ted's dead.
No.
Yes.
No, where are you? Where are you?
As difficult as it was telling Karen the tragic news, Corey's next task would prove to be even more painful, informing her adopted son of 19 years, Nick Shaughnessy, that his father was dead.
I need to call my son.
Okay.
Nick. Mom, Dad's dead. Nick.
What?
Dad is dead.
What?
Nicholas, just I need you. Can you just?
What?
Shooting. I don't know.
What?
Corey was eventually able to calm down enough to roughly explain what had happened.
Did you return fire?
Yes. I'm in the back of the car out front, and the police are here, and they want me to call someone. I know you're in College Station, and I don't know what to do about it.
Nick and his girlfriend of a year and a half, Jackie Edison, made their way from College Station to Austin, calling family and friends along the way to inform everyone of their situation. Several of these people showed up to be there for Corey, and once Karen showed up, she stuck by Corey's side. When Nick and Jackie arrived, they were immediately questioned by lead detective James Moore. It was important to rule out the people in Ted's inner circle as potential suspects, including Corey. So Detective Moore asked Nick about the dynamics of his parents' relationship.
So, tell me about between mom and dad. Is there What's a relationship like?
Solid as ever. They just had their 30th anniversary in January.
Okay. They argue, fight?
They bicker like every couple does.
They ever hit each other?
No.
They ever threaten each other?
No, nothing.
Nick was very proactive about helping the police with their investigation. He ran around asking questions, trying to get to the bottom of what exactly happened. He also gave the detectives access to the home security system through an app on his phone.
They're not technologically literate, so I'm like the only that manage all their technology.
This, along with a thorough search of the property, gave the investigators a better understanding of how the home invasion may have taken place. The home security system app showed that someone had entered the house at 4:27 a.m. This wide-open window leading into Nick's old bedroom was most likely the point of entry. Right beside the window was a dresser, and in the bottom drawer was an empty box for a .40 caliber Springfield handgun. 17 minutes passed, then suddenly, at 4:44 a.m., the security system showed that a window had been broken. This alert was triggered by these bullet holes in the kitchen window. This was also just moments before Corey called 911. It was deduced that 4:44 a.m. was when Ted was gunned down. Bullet casings from .40 and .380 caliber guns were scattered on the kitchen floor, indicating that there was likely two shooters. While Detective Paul Sallow supervised the collection of evidence, Detective Moore spoke with the neighbors. One of them, a woman named Kim, told Detective Moore about the Shaughnessy family business, Gallery Jewelers. Ted was the personable face of the business, while Corey appraised the jewelry.
And it's not cheap jewelry, just so you know. Like, I'm talking, like when they transfer jewelry, like I'm talking hundreds to millions of dollars in jewelry.
Detective Moore wondered if the perpetrator knew about this expensive jewelry. Perhaps this was a robbery gone wrong.
Are we keeping this stuff in the house?
I don't know the answer to that.
While Kim wasn't sure whether or not this was a botched burglary, she did know that the Shaughnessy's had been a target of theft on more than one occasion.
I think it was about, last year. Someone broke into their car.
Here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This supported the robbery gone wrong theory, but something was troubling the detectives. Why would someone rob a house with 3 cars parked in the driveway? Wouldn't it be better to rob a house with nobody home? Especially in Texas, where many homeowners own an arsenal of guns. They had a feeling that the motive behind this home invasion was something more sinister. Detective Moore wrapped up the neighborhood interviews and headed back to the crime scene. Nick and Corey were photographed and their hands were swabbed for gunshot residue. They were then asked to come to the station for a proper interview. After collecting her clothes for evidence, they had Corey recount the home invasion from her point of view. She was clearly traumatized.
I didn't hear anything until the dog started barking.
I was going to die. I really didn't. Will you be able to tell if I shot somebody?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we may be able to learn.
They asked Corey if she knew anybody who would want to hurt Ted. This caught her off guard because she assumed it was a robbery gone wrong, but the detectives explained why they were now doubting that theory.
You see what I'm getting at is somebody doing this at night. It's a very risky thing, especially in Texas, because a lot of people in Texas own guns. I mean, it does happen, but I mean that's a big risk for somebody to try to pull off.
I can't imagine anybody knowing us doing that.
Following this brief questioning, they held a formal interview with Nick.
I'm trying to think of anything that could be helpful.
Nick told the detectives that Kim, the neighbor that they had talked to earlier, was going through a divorce and employed Nick as a private investigator. She wanted to confirm that her husband was cheating on her.
Her husband was cheating on her, and I looked into that for her.
So what did you find out?
He was staying at a female's residence for a long period of time and saying he was elsewhere. When I had access to his car, I put a little a tracker in it for her that she could see via the app, so she knew where he was when he was, and so much he said, like, oh, I'm at the golf course, well, you're at her house, that sort of thing. Now, I do not know if he ever found that out, that I was responsible for that.
This information opened up several possibilities. Maybe Kim's husband found out and had Ted killed as revenge against Nick. Or maybe Kim was actually the intended target, but the hitman mixed up the houses, just like the cops did earlier. After all, one of the vehicles in the Shaughnessy driveway was a white Mercedes, which Kim also happened to own. The detectives decided to head back to Kim's house and speak with her again.
Hey, Paul, say hello.
Okay.
Yeah, we've talked on the phone. Hi.
She told the detectives that she was somewhat close with Nick, since she frequently had him house sit, dog sit, and even babysit for her when she was away from the house.
How about any, like, investigative kind of things?
Okay, yes, that's not really investigative, but I did have him follow I forgot about that.
Okay.
My soon-to-be ex-husband, because, well, it's interesting. Probably more information than you want to hear.
While the housekeeper cleaned in the background, Kim told the detectives that she suspected her husband of cheating.
So, yeah, I told her when he leaves, I want you to follow him because I want to know where he's going.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And he did.
Okay.
So I got my information.
Okay. Was Nick compensated for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All I needed was just an address.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's all I want. I don't want you to do anything else. I don't want you to go to that person's door. I don't want a problem. I just want an address.
So there was more than one occasion when you had to follow him?
Maybe 2 or 3 times.
Okay. And did your husband, did he know this? Like, did he end up and find out that Nick had done this or anything? Okay.
No, I never said a word. Yeah, he's a liar for sure. But there's no doubt about it. I don't think he's capable of that.
Kim turned out to be right about this, as detectives followed this lead and ultimately confirmed that her soon-to-be ex-husband was in fact not involved. But this wasn't the only promising lead that the detectives gained from their interview with Nick. They had asked Nick about the open window in his bedroom. Apparently, Nick and his best friend Spencer would use that window as their personal entrance and exit to get in and out of the house, so he would sometimes leave it unlocked. The detectives asked Nick to tell them more about Spencer.
He's not as fortunate as I to have parents that will help him like mine are. So he works at his Home Depot job, hating every second of it. When he's not there, he's studying for his job or his school at Texas State.
Nick also told them that he had lent Spencer one of his guns, a .380 caliber pistol, the same caliber as one of the guns that shot Ted. The dots were beginning to connect. Spencer, someone forced to work a crappy job to pay the bills, someone familiar with where the Shaughnessy safe was, seemed to be the only one besides Nick who knew about the unlocked window. And he may even have one of the murder weapons. Naturally, the detectives reached out to their new suspect.
Hey, is this Spencer?
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is Detective Moore. I'm with Travis County Sheriff's Department. How you doing?
Been better.
Detective Moore asked Spencer when he was last at the Shaughnessy house.
It wasn't more than like a month ago.
Okay. Can you tell me like how that night went? You know,
I mean, that night was fun. We had talks. I told them about my work. Everyone was just in a great mood. I mean, we just had dinner. We had some drinks. We were having fun. We were just getting along just like a normal family, really.
You guys never left the house at night?
Not that night, no, but on previous nights, we usually would go out to the barn.
The barn was located on the Shaughnessy property, and Spencer and Nick would often enjoy some late-night drinks there.
So when y'all would go to the barn, can you tell me about that? How would y'all leave the house and get back in and all that?
Usually we'd go out through one of Nicholas's bedroom windows.
Okay. Do you remember the last time y'all did that?
No, not really, no. It was recent, but not like in the last month, no.
This conversation ended there, but they weren't done with Spencer just yet. They were able to obtain some search warrants for his house, phone, and car. And in the car console was the .380.
You've had it with you?
Yeah.
This whole time?
Yeah.
The detectives were certain that they had their shooter. However, they did a forensic test on the .380, and it was confirmed that this weapon was not used to kill Ted. Ultimately, there was no evidence indicating Spencer's involvement, so this lead fizzled out as well. Forensics also confirmed that none of the bullets that killed Ted were fired from Corey's gun, but she wasn't completely ruled out yet. It was still possible that she was involved in setting up the home invasion. After all, with Ted being gone, not only would she be the sole owner of their assets, including the jewelry business and the house, but she was also the beneficiary of Ted's life insurance payout, $1 million. The detectives kept her on their radar as a potential suspect as they continued their investigation. They went to the Shaughnessy household where Corey, Nick, and Jackie were staying for the time being. They wanted to ask Corey about the missing .40 caliber handgun, especially since it was the same caliber as one of the murder weapons. Corey said that they always left it on a shelf at the jewelry store, so she and the detectives headed over to see if it was there. However, it was also missing from that spot. The question was, where is it now? After going back to the house, they asked Nick that same question. He told the detectives that his father let him borrow it, but he returned it soon after.
Yeah. I took it to College Station, and then father wanted it back.
We have no idea where he may have put it or anything?
Father didn't tell me any intentions with it.
With no significant progress in Ted's case thus far, the detectives wondered if they had somehow missed something. They reviewed all of the evidence over and over again, and at one point, while looking through the home security system data, they noticed something strange. Nick had opened up the app on his phone at 5:39 a.m., 5 minutes before Corey had informed him about Ted's death. They began to question the things that Nick had said and done that they had initially overlooked. From the moment Nick showed up at the crime scene, he was inserting himself into the investigation. For example, on top of giving the police access to his parents' home security system, he offered access to his home security system as well.
Something that might be able to help y'all if you want to rule her and I out. My home security system, I alarm it every night. I have cameras that show my entry and exit that I can view via my phone, if that helps. I armed 12:30 or so after we were watching TV and went to bed.
But the information Nick volunteered wasn't the only suspicious thing. His behavior was odd too. One example is when Nick was being photographed at the crime scene. The whole time he was laughing and making small jokes. At one point he was asked to face the camera, and he did a little hop to turn around. Why would somebody whose father just died be so chipper? Another red flag was in the interrogation room, when Nick told the detectives about recent money problems between him and his mom.
There was a period where my mother and I, there was a financial dispute, and it was like really pretty heated.
Corey had loaned Nick $30,000 to support his dream of becoming a day trader. Nick became successful fast, but was not paying Corey back as they agreed. Instead, he was buying himself and Jackie expensive jewelry and fancy clothes. Since Nick wasn't holding up his end of the bargain, Corey stopped paying for his expenses. This led to an argument and major tension between them, but just days before Ted's death, Nick reimbursed his mom and reconciled with her.
We figured it out, sat down, and did everything up, figured it out.
Although everything seemed figured out, the detectives were curious to see how Nick was doing financially after paying Corey back. They looked into Nick's bank records and discovered that he had hardly anything remaining in his accounts. At this point, the detectives decided to take up Nick's offer. They gained access to his home security system in the College Station apartment. This, along with the surveillance cameras inside the house, confirmed Nick's alibis that he and Jackie were at home at the time of the shooting. They also obtained a search warrant for the apartment itself. During the search, they found a safe that contained expensive watches and other jewelry, along with several other weapons and boxes of ammunition. One of those boxes contained SIG 380 ammo, the same brand and caliber as the bullets at the crime scene. 6 rounds were missing. Next, the detectives obtained Nick and Jackie's cell phones. Both phones had very little data on them, as if they were wiped before they were given to the police. Fortunately, if you own more than one Apple device, the devices are commonly synced to each other. Nick's iPhone was synced to his Mac Mini. On the Mac Mini, detectives found conversations between Nick and Jackie leading up to the murder. On February 28th, just days before Ted's death, the couple discussed paying someone $1,000 and, if it happens, cash in hand. Jackie's bank records showed that she took out $1,000 that same day. With this abundance of evidence, the detectives couldn't shake the feeling that Nick's best friend Spencer knew more about Nick's involvement than he was letting on. They met with him again at the station. It seemed that Spencer realized the direction that this investigation was heading. As a result, he was much more forthcoming with the detectives this time around. He told the detectives about driving around with Nick and Jackie as they discussed the idea of killing Nick's parents.
He said, after my parents go, I would have $8 million. Has he ever directly asked you to kill his parents? Yes.
Apparently, Nick had offered Spencer money in exchange for killing his parents, and Spencer declined. Following this interview, authorities felt that they had enough evidence to arrest both Nick and Jackie, and on May 29, 2018, that's exactly what happened. Nick was charged with capital murder, and his bond was set at $3 million. Jackie was charged with conspiracy to commit capital murder, and her bond was set at $1 million. Detectives brought Jackie into the interrogation room where she shared her side of the story.
Do you prefer Jackie or Jacqueline? Or Jackie?
Shortly after we got married, he asked me if I would stay with him if he ever murdered someone.
This odd remark became more serious during a conversation about his father's extremely poor mental health.
I didn't see that, but Nick said he did. And he mentioned killing him to end that. And I said, that's crazy, that's stupid, what are you saying?
Nick later followed up by saying it would be too painful for his mom to live through such a loss, so she needed to be killed as well. Jackie says she couldn't believe what she was hearing.
This isn't you. You love your parents. Like, we visit them every weekend. We have fun. We're family. I've always wanted what I had with them. I didn't think Nick really had it in him to even think about it, and that's why I never took it as seriously as I should have.
So other than his dad, him thinking that his dad was miserable, what other reason would he have to do?
He knew that they had a $1 million life insurance policy each, but he told me it wasn't about the money.
Nick was hire somebody. So,
Yeah.
Jackie told them that she didn't know who the hired guns were, nor did she know the details of the murder itself. Her only involvement was working out the payment and helping Nick scope out the area leading up to the murder.
I was like, well, I mean, we can't even afford to put half. And I said, well, okay, maybe they'll do it for 10. I wanted to shut him up. I was playing his game. I never took it seriously. No, I went with him. You know, he wanted me to go with him, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I know he's not going to do it. And if he is going to do something crazy, then I'll be there to make sure he doesn't do it. I tried to stop him.
Jackie claimed that she was deeply troubled living with Corey while she grieved Ted's death.
Living with Corey, and every single day how she would cry about Ted and how she hated his murderers and how she would blame me all when really I knew that it was her son, and that killed me. I really loved him like a father.
2 weeks following this interview, Jackie's bond was reduced from $1 million to $250,000. This bond was quickly paid and she was released from custody. It would ultimately be up to the court to determine Nick and Jackie's fate, but the detectives weren't done their job. The shooters were still at large. The detectives scoured through Nick's surveillance footage to see if he had met with anyone leading up to the murder, and bingo. On February 28th, the same day that Jackie withdrew the $1,000, 2 people showed up at Nick's apartment. Soon after, one of the visitors steps out to take a phone call and is seen wearing a Renewal by Anderson company t-shirt. The detectives drove to the Renewal by Anderson headquarters, and by a stroke of luck, an employee's daughter recognized the man in the video. His name is Cameron Vosmek, and he had worked for Renewal by Anderson for merely 4 days several years ago. Authorities tracked Cameron down, and he willingly spoke with investigators. He told them that the other person in the video was a man named Johnny Leon. Apparently, Johnny had approached Cameron months earlier about a job moving some stuff. But when they showed up to Nick's house, he started talking about people in Austin costing him $30,000 a month, and that they needed to be taken care of. When Cameron tried to clarify what he meant by that, Nick was insistent that the less you know, the better. Uncomfortable with how this interaction was playing out, Cameron left the apartment and never looked back. Following Cameron's interview, the police tracked down and arrested Johnny. Initially, he admitted to being approached by Nick about the murder-for-hire plot, but denied having any involvement.
I'm not going to lie to you. If someone offers you $100K, you're going to think about it. He's luring you into this to commit murder. I'm just telling you, we know you're involved in this. We know what happened. You know I'm involved. Absolutely. There's no doubt.
The detectives then confronted him with the surveillance footage, at which point he began to open up. He explained that he didn't have the heart to kill Ted himself, and that Nick decided that he would take matters into his own hands. Just days before the murder, Johnny and Nick drove from College Station to the Shaughnessy house. They parked across the street, and Nick ran up to the house alone. Moments later, Nick came back to the vehicle and said that he couldn't get inside the house. So they drove back to College Station. According to Johnny, his involvement ended there. However, his phone location data placed him in the area at the time of the shooting, and for that reason, he was still charged with capital murder. Johnny's phone also revealed that he had an accomplice, someone named Ariane Smith. Ariane was arrested and brought in for questioning. Under the pressure of being caught, he shared details of the home invasion from his perspective.
Then I hear some shots come from the bedroom as well. And I heard a woman cry. And I said, please don't do it. Please, let's just go. Please, leave her alone. Let's go. Let's go. Please, just let's go. So after I say that, he takes off running and I follow him.
Now, reliving the events that took place that night, Ariane expresses just how much it had been weighing on him.
You're the only person showing me regret. I don't understand how could you kill somebody and not have any emotion about it? And you actually killed him. I was just in the situation. I'm devastated. I cannot sleep at night. What is that?
Following his confession, Ariane led investigators to the murder weapon, Ted's .40 caliber handgun. Ariane was then charged with capital murder. One by one, the accused killers took plea deals, and each received a sentence of 35 years in prison with the possibility of parole, except for Jackie. Jackie, who was still out on bond, was living her life and even dating new men. After running from this incident for 5 years, she eventually gave in to the pressure. In June of 2023, Jackie took a plea deal known as a deferred adjudication. This meant that she pled guilty to a lesser charge and avoided a formal conviction. The terms of Jackie's sentence were 4 months in county jail, followed by 10 years of probation, during which, every year, on the anniversary of Ted's murder, she must spend 2 days in jail. This is what Corey had to say during her victim impact statement.
I'm alive because your plan to have me murdered didn't succeed. You knew what was about to happen, and yet you sat home and did nothing because you wanted it to happen. We opened our home and our hearts to you, and you and Nicholas took everything from us. How long will it take for you to find another family to destroy? How long will it be before Bonnie finds her next Clyde? You are a monster. You are evil, and everyone needs to know it.
Corey Shaughnessy now lives in a different state under a different name.